All right, I think we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the welcome to Accessibility Talks, Ally Talks, the monthly virtual meetup where we chat about digital accessibility and inclusivity and usability. Sorry, so many screens to look at. Each month, so here at Ally Talks, each month we invite a speaker to present a topic, and afterward we invite the community to ask questions and participate in discussion. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Liz Davis. I work at Bounteous in Chicago as a senior UX developer. My pronouns are she, her. And we have live transcript. Here's the link, and it's going to be posted in the chat. Before we get too far, I just want to let everyone know about this. If you need it, ask the chat. You can also enable the YouTube closed captions if that's better for you. We also want to let you know that we have a code of conduct. And we want to remind everybody that our main goal is to provide a safe and friendly environment. We require all participants, including hosts, myself, speakers, and those on YouTube watching and commenting on social networks to adhere to our Accessibility Talks Code of Conduct. And applies to all community interactions and events, as well as any questions or chat in the text channels. You can read it at our website, and all participants should engage in productive dialogue, and we should share and learn with each other in an atmosphere of mutual respect. We also want to take a moment to give a shout out to our Ally Club members. Thank you so much for your monthly financial contributions. Here on the screen, one of our former or previous speakers in there. Thank you so much. If you are interested in joining the Ally Club, please consider sponsoring our monthly talks. Visit our website and learn about our budget priorities and goals and how you can join the club at allytalks.com/pages/sponsorship. If you have questions during our chat, please add the hashtag AllyTalks. That's A11YTALKS, or type in the chat window. So preface any questions. It's busy. The chat can be busy, so just preface it with the word question, and we'll gather these up to have Q&A at the end. And so I'm about to present our speakers. Today we have Kaylee Marbury, freelance front-end developer, and Irene Dobbs, developer at Bounteous. Kaylee's fun fact is that she grew up bilingual, and Irene's fun fact is they're learning how to crochet. And they're going to present our Aria Winning Son, best title ever, how to achieve accessibility wins on your next project. The floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you. Hello, yes, and welcome to Aria Winning Son, how to achieve accessibility wins on your next project. On this slide, we have two stick figures, a dad and a son. The dad is asking the son, "Are you winning?" in his game. But unfortunately, this isn't the type of video game where winning is the focus in a traditional sense. We chose this meme because often when working on accessibility, winning isn't the end goal, it's a journey that you embark on. Just want to give a heads up, we do have some motion GIFs on some of our slides, so if you're sensitive to that, I'm sorry in advance. Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm from Chicago. And like Liz said, I'm a freelance front-end Drupal developer, and I grew up bilingual. I am Black, and I have locks, and I'm wearing a fun purple or pink, depending on how you look at it, sweater thing. How I got into accessibility is via my sister. She suffered an illness that made certain motor functions difficult for a period of time, and she shared with me her journey into discovering and using different accessibility tools. I was able to do some of my own research, and I was inspired to make sure that others can use accessibility tools easily on the projects that I create.
Hello, I'm Irene. I'm a front-end Drupal developer based out of Denver, Colorado. I work at Bounteous and have been working here for about 5 years. And I got into accessibility because everyone in my family are either developers or QAs. So we talk a lot about the different things that we come across at work. And so one time I was sitting at the dinner table with my mother, and she was talking about all these accessibility bugs that they were running into on her project. And I was pretty new to being a developer and on my accessibility journey. So I was like, what is accessibility? And I became interested in learning more from talking with her, and just want to make sure that all the solutions I'm giving are accessible to everyone.
All right. So before we get rolling here, let's get on the same page about what these 4 words mean. The first one is accessibility, meaning the quality of being easy to approach, reach, enter, speak with, use, or understand. The second word is empathy, the psychological identification with or various experiencing of the emotions, thoughts, or attitudes of another. The third is accessible rich internet applications, otherwise known as ARIA. It is a set of roles and attributes that define ways to make web content and web applications more accessible. And lastly, we have Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, otherwise known as WCAG. It is an international standard. WCAG documents explain how to make web content more accessible to people who are differently abled.
So, we often find ourselves working on websites that are not always accessible. Accessibility is essential for those who want to create high quality sites or projects and make sure we're not excluding people from using our products and services. Starting the process of making a site more accessible can seem like a challenging task. It can involve things like audits, collecting data, creating tickets, explaining solutions to developers as well as clients, and ultimately pushing all of these changes up to production. This process can be incredibly overwhelming. As Tim Berners-Lee said, the power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So it's important to take time and care to address accessibility issues to make sure you're welcoming your site or project to a wider audience. It can be a long and painful dance when done infrequently, but we've seen firsthand how tangible and accessible accessibility can be. We found success in this step by step approach, so we'll talk through this process and hopefully you'll see how you can make small steps to make accessibility enhancements on your next or current project.
Okay, so is this the slide? Okay. So we had a problem. Like many other companies, our site was in need of a lot of tender love and care. It wasn't very accessible, and there were many pain points in navigating the site. Like most places, it was easier to focus on making client sites accessible rather than the companies. As I discovered bugs in the company coding, it took many conversations to address the issues I learned about what accessibility tickets. It took many conversations to address issues that I learned, and I learned a lot about what accessibility tickets addressed and what they were meant to look like. In being curious, I took on and helped create different tickets to learn more about accessibility and discussed with others in the company about what could be done to make the company site more accessible. And along the way, I found that accessibility is often treated as an afterthought. Are we thinking about accessibility on our own company websites? When is the best time to incorporate accessibility? Ideally, the best time to start your accessibility journey with a site is from the beginning in the designing phase. And it really shouldn't stop there, but rather keep on going. But we don't live in an ideal world. So, what was our solution? Next slide, please. We decided to change perspective when thinking about creating or updating accessibility on our sites. Although we focused on doing audits, creating tickets, and patching things up, we also made sure that we were making the process easier for anyone to join in and allow anyone of any accessibility experience to hop on in whenever they could. So our process became this. We start with identifying that there is accessibility work to be done and draw attention to that. The second is to get buy-in from leadership after researching and gathering resources. The third step is assembling the right team by delegating wisely. And the fourth step is performing abbreviated audits to make repairs.
So, the first step in our process is identifying that there is accessibility work to be done. Hashtag fun fact, there will always be accessibility work that is needed. The dance of accessibility is one that never really ends, and there's always more enhancements that can be made. And as some of you may know, focusing on accessibility at the end of a project or having to fix accessibility issues on an already completed project can be quite difficult. So it's much more efficient and easier to identify accessibility problems early and often. So some of the ways we identified accessibility work that needs to be done on our project was to take things page by page. For us, we started with our homepage, and then we branched out to our other high traffic pages. Another great way to identify accessibility work is to try walking a mile in someone else's shoes. Have you ever tried not using your mouse and navigating through the page with your keyboard, or tried closing your eyes and using the screen reader? And another great way is to just check the accessibility lighthouse rating using Google Chrome. And then another great way, and also a big way we identified accessibility issues on our project, is to pinpoint painful spots. Before we really began this whole project, a few painful points Kaylee and I had already discovered was our homepage. We had a carousel that would autoplay, so users had no way to pause the carousel from advancing. A bunch of our images were missing alt text, and a big painful spot we had on our site was in our footer. We had a keyboard trap, which occurs when a keyboard user cannot move focus away from an interactive element. And this was happening in an accordion item that we had in our footer, so globally all around our site.
The next step is getting buy-in from leadership. So hashtag share it. The proof can be in the pudding. There are many reasons for audience and leadership interest. One is to attract new clients, getting a bigger pool of happy customers. Two is legal, keeping you and your company from getting sued. Three is pride. Accessible sites show how much a company cares and showcases an attention to detail. And four, it gives you an edge in the field. There are many who offer great services, but those who have accessible sites leave a happy customer who is more than willing to come back. Showing tangible examples help not just back up your case, but also show progress once you get started. Also, showing your plan of tackling issues you brought up really helps get things started. Don't underestimate the power of a plan of attack.
So the next step in our process is assembling the right team. Hashtag Avengers Assemble. For us on our project, we don't have a traditional looking team. This is not like a traditional project, so nobody that works on this project is allocated. So we have a lot of different people that shift in and out. And so with that, we have lots of different levels of accessibility experience, along with level of development experience and different kinds of team members like QAs. And so we also often have a lot of our developers that kind of have to shift to take on that project management role and help to keep us moving forward and continually making progress. So what we found to be the most important when assembling a team is to make sure that you have people that are interested in learning more about accessibility and are just really driven to be a part of the team. And whether you guys all have a ton of accessibility experience or not a lot, it's still going to be a great experience overall. Every small step you take with accessibility is really a big step for somebody else.
And our last step of our process was performing abbreviated audits. So hashtag mess around and find out. Our process consisted of going through the site and using tools and manual testing to complete our audits. This process was page by page for us. This step was a lot like making a sandwich. You start with the bread, which is the audit, add the jelly, create the tickets based on your findings, pop on the peanut butter, decide the complexity, and estimate how much time each ticket will take. And after all that, you pop another slice of bread down. Bread is essential for sandwiches, and audits are essential for accessibility. The more you know, you know. Here are some of the big picture and specific tools we used. All these tools will be put on a slide at the end of the presentation so you can copy the links from there. The first tool we used is called Wave. This is a suite of tools which allows users to do things from testing accessibility directly within your web browser to measuring your site's AIM, or Accessibility Impact Score. This helped us figure out the spots that we needed to focus on to get a better idea of the big picture, and it pointed us towards specific issues, such as empty alt tags and empty form labels. The second tool we used is Axe DevTools. This is a browser installation that allows users to find accessibility issues on a site. And what's nice about this is that it gives you reports showing your progress as you continue to work. The third tool we used is called Site Improve. This tool gives you an insight as to how accessible your site is. And it helped us figure out which issues were globally affecting the site. Using these three tools allowed us to get a bigger and clearer picture of the issues that were going on. We used these three broad tools, but we also used two more specific tools. The first of which is Headings Map. This extension generates a document map or index of any web document structured with headings. We used Headings Map when making sure that proper heading structure was there. And this is important because when headings and labels are correctly marked up and identified, it's helpful to people who use screen readers by ensuring that the labels and headings are meaningful when read out of context. For example, in an automatically generated list of headings, table of content or table of contents, or when jumping from heading to heading within a page. And lastly, we used Color Contrast Analyzer. This website allows you to analyze text color contrast problems on a web page according to WCAG 2 text color contrast requirements. Try saying that 5 times fast. We used Color Contrast Analyzer to ensure the colors on our website were accessible. Sometimes that uncomfortable feeling that you get from looking at a web page might be because the colors are clashing on the site, and this helps you to prevent that.
So along with using some more specific tools, we also use some manual testing. And it is important to remember that no tool alone can help you identify all of your accessibility issues, and to make sure that you are doing some manual testing as well. So for us, we typically do keyboard navigation, which is using the tab or arrow keys to jump from one interactive element to the next. If you want to activate a link or a menu item, you use the Enter key or spacebar. So when keyboard navigating, we make sure that there's no keyboard traps and all the links and menu items are reachable and function. And as you can see in this video, we tab through the site and then we get to this accordion strategy and insight, and we are unable to tab past that. So that is an example of a keyboard trap that we found on our site. Another great way to manually test your site is to listen to your site with a screen reader, which is a form of assistive technology that renders text and image content as speech or braille output. So for our project, we do this both on desktop and mobile devices, listening over every page to make sure that everything we want to read is read out and that it's all understandable. And so this video is an example of us going through the site with the screen reader and what it reads out. And another big accessibility issue that we ran into on our site was WCAG criteria 1.4.4 resized text. This is all about zooming your page to 200% and still having assistive technology work, as well as making sure that the content on the page is still readable and functions as intended. So as you can see on the slide from the screenshot here, we have our enablement model accelerates co-innovation and propels our client, but it's being cut off by this magenta box that pops up. So for sighted users or they're not able to see the whole sentence, but for users that were using their screen reader, they were able to read all of this content. And so the final step in our process is creating tickets from the audit. So when we created tickets for this project, we tried to add as much detail as we could so that anybody could come and pick up this ticket and understand what the issue is and how they can go about fixing it. And this is why we say people on your team don't need to be accessibility experts. We found adding all this information helps anyone at any accessibility level to be able to pick these up and understand what the issue was and how to go about fixing it. So for every ticket, we will always include a link to the page that's impacted. So here we have a link to our homepage, and then we also have a note saying that this is a global issue that's occurring in the footer. And then we'll give a brief description of what the issue is. So for this particular ticket, the focus gets hung or trapped on Let's Innovate Together and all other global accordions, and users cannot advance via keyboard whatsoever. Then we will give a why it matters so that developers can understand how the issue may impact the users as a whole and why it's important that we're addressing this. So people who rely on a keyboard or keyboard interface to use the web, including people who are blind and people with physical disabilities. And then we will add the WCAG criteria and a link to the understanding the success criteria. So for this ticket, it's 2.1.2, no keyboard trap. And then we will give a suggested solution. And for this one is ensure the tabbing order mimics what makes logical sense. And then depending on what your ticket addresses, we recommend adding a image or a video. For this particular ticket, we added a video to show where the keyboard trap was occurring. But if you were having like a heading structure issue, for example, you might add a screenshot from the heading maps tool to show what that heading structure is. If it's a color contrast issue, you might show a screenshot of where on the page those colors are incorrect. So after all of these steps, you've completed your audit, and you're probably thinking everything's done once I complete all of these tickets, right? Well, it's important to remember that accessibility is a never-ending process. So once you complete the tickets from your audit, you're going to start this process all over again. You're going to look to see what accessibility work there is to be done. You're going to get your team members together. You're going to get buy-in, and you're going to begin that audit all over again. If you do things like we did on this project, where we were taking things mostly page by page, once you complete one page, there's always going to be another page to look at. So once you've done the process like this, you'll definitely see that it's much more effective to include accessibility considerations at the beginning of your projects. This is what shifting left means, placing accessibility earlier in the development cycles. Developers, and especially QA, are the last step in being able to get accessibility right. So shifting left is all about bringing this to project managers, your designers, the whole team, and talking together about accessibility at the beginning of your projects.
Hey, so does tackling accessibility still seem overwhelming? I hope not. Accessibility tends to be an afterthought. But when you work to make sites accessible, you give yourself a better chance to attract new clients, avoid legal repercussions, show your company and work pride, and gain an edge in the field. Every finished ticket is a victory and needs to be treated as such. Here's how you can be involved in accessibility in the tech community.
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more and getting more involved in the accessibility community, WCAG 2.2 was released just a few weeks ago here, and Intopia has a map that provides a visual overview, including breakdowns of the success criteria by level of conformance. Join Ally Talks. They're typically the third Wednesday of every month. Consider joining Ally Slack and talk all things accessibility. There's more broad channels and more specific channels talking about specific accessibility issues or things, so it's super cool. And if you're kind of new to accessibility and you're trying to learn how to code something accessibility or test something accessibility, check out Magenta Ally. You can they give you breakdowns as a per component basis, and you can see the criteria and how to test that particular component. And there's also this whole how to test section that tells you how to test using your screen reader, or again, kind of specific components like how to test different form items. So now a little bit more about our project and some of our project wins that we had. Our accessibility lighthouse score improved, which means that we've increased the audience that can consume our site. We kind of talked about this a lot. We had that keyboard trap in our footer with our accordion component. And so that's a big fix that we fixed, allowing keyboard users to be able to navigate to the content within the accordions, but also the content past the accordions. And then for our screen reader users, we also fixed the issue where if the accordion was closed, screen reader users were still being read the content inside of that accordion. So now if you're a screen reader user and you're coming to our site looking at the accordion, it will only read you that content if you open the accordion. But what we consider to be the biggest win for our project is just all the sharing and gaining of accessibility knowledge that there was. Kaylee and I did not have a ton of accessibility experience when we started this, and now we know how to do audits, we know how to create tickets, we know a lot more about the different WCAG criteria, what to look out for when we're thinking about accessibility when approaching our sites and projects. And just a quick thanks to our team and another, our team, you know, as you can see here, is made up of all different levels and teams. So we have different development skills from associate principal all the way down to apprentices. And we had all different ranges of accessibility knowledge, from accessibility SMEs to people like Kaylee and I, who really had no accessibility experience. And so, yeah, we've been able to learn and grow a lot through this process.
All right, so do you want to level up? Our process was identifying that there is accessibility work to be done and drew attention to that. We got buy-in from leadership after researching and gathering resources. We assembled the right team by delegating wisely, and we performed abbreviated audits and made repairs. We did all of this because accessibility tends to be an afterthought. And by allowing empathy to drive us, we were able to do something about it. Is there a project that you know needs a little bit of extra love? Have you learned any new tools or tricks that you want to test out on your site? I'm Kaylee, and this is Irene. Thank you, and do you have any questions?
Hello. Yes, we have some questions for you. Thank you so much. We can leave that screen up. Perfect. Okay. The first question, thank you, comes from UC Berkeley Library on YouTube. Can you talk a little bit about how you got buy-in from folks higher up in the ladder?
Sure. Did you want to take that, Irene, or you want me to take it?
You can if you want.
Okay, cool beans. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the ladder shape was, in all honesty. So I just talked to a lot of people about it. But as long as there's someone else who's passionately telling you about the issues that they're experiencing, and then you're like, hey, can we go talk about this to someone else that we know? You're able to get a bigger and bigger crowd. It always depends, on company structure and stuff like that. There's not one size fits all, but I hope that helps.
Yeah, and at our company, we were kind of lucky because we have an accessibility task force, so we were able to bring up, uh, that we're finding all of these accessibility bugs, and so we kind of lucked out that the task force was able to help us, and we kind of have some of those people that are a little bit higher up in the ladder that kind of knew who we could talk to and say, hey, we have a bunch of people that are interested in doing this, and so we were able to kind of get our foot in the door that way.
Thanks so much. We have another question, I know, coming in. Okay. How do you maintain accessibility on the site? Automated testing tools, regular audits.
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah, so we're still kind of in that process of using the tools and continuing to do regular audits. We are looking into adding some automated testing, but kind of as we mentioned before, we think it's important to make sure that you're also using some of these tools, and manually testing your site. Automation is not going to catch everything. So yeah, it's definitely like an ongoing process to maintain accessibility on the site. So yeah, we're automating and testing and auditing all the time.
Awesome. What advice would you give to anyone getting started on their accessibility journey?
Be curious.
Oh, do you want to expand?
Sure. I remember because our accessibility task force would have like accessibility office hours, like once a month or something like that. And I would attend those. But also, I think there's a part of curiosity where you have to let yourself be uncomfortable, and exploring the site using the screen reader is a personal torture chamber if you have sensory issues. But that's something that somebody else is using, and so to make sure that that goes smoothly, I remember begging the accessibility lead to make it stop, but she was able to talk me through it. But yeah, I would say be curious and stay curious.
Irene, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Kaylee said. And yeah, I mean, I think doing things like this, joining Ally Talks, and just kind of reaching out to anybody that you know that's interested in accessibility and talking. I definitely think it's hard to get started. It's so much to learn all at once, but every little step you take kind of makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I would agree. Amazing. Another question we got. If there's, what are some main ally issues you find on a regular basis? I think everyone wants to answer this, right? It's such a.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it kind of depends on your site. Like for us, I definitely think it was probably color contrast issues was like what we find the most regular. But I think it was like the keyboard trap in that accordion component, because that was like a global issue all over our site. We use that component and more than just the footer. That's kind of like, I think that's the one where we were all like, no, it's here too.
The whole
It's
component.
everywhere. Yeah. 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 I feel like oh, there's a new question. Cool. Irene did a great job with the other one.
All
so
right. What are your current oh gosh. What are your current curiosities in accessibility?
I really loved navigating sites with my keyboard. So just working to make sites more accessible that way. Because what I found navigating a site with your keyboard, different things would you would hover over them, and that it just really blew my mind. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but basically it was like opening up a whole new world when my mouse was taken away, and I was like, what? I was supposed to navigate this whole thing? So that's my current curiosity.
I think mine is looking more into WCAG 2.2. I haven't spent a ton of time looking at what's new and what's changed there. So
The new stuff that just came out. All right, awesome. From YouTube, 9 Lives Black Cat. Love the username. Okay. Are there any courses that either of you have taken that you found helpful to increasing your ally knowledge?
That's a great question.
I don't think that I've taken any courses. Typically, like if I find something like the keyboard trap, then I went down a rabbit hole, like learning all about that. And I think that's kind of how I've gained my knowledge, is like running into something, or I get a ticket where I need to make something accessible. And so like learning all about that specific thing. Cause I really don't think
more resources.
Yeah, like definitely looking at what CAG criteria I think has helped me expand my knowledge a lot for sure.
Great. Yeah. Speaking of an ally cat, there we go. Get down. Right. Thank you. Kaylee, do you have anything to add for that question?
I don't really know of any classes, but I do love reading. So I found different articles and different books. Yeah, I think there was one book called The Digital Nudge that I got that was just really helpful in just learning about how it's not really about accessibility, but just how websites work to like put on your mind different things. And so being sensitive to that. Yeah, I'll have to find some other resources and I can share them later. But
yeah. And what are some of the biggest ARIA mistakes you've made? Since ARIA is in your title, yeah. Lay it out here for all of us.
That's a great question. Thinking that something's not global, I think. Like, if something is in the footer, then it's in the footer for the whole site. Or if like there's empty alt tags, you might want to check other places where there's images, because there's probably not empty alt tags there as well. But like kind of assuming, oh, this issue is just contained to this one spot is typically not the case.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a specific example, but of course I can't think of one. Of
course.
But
I know.
I feel like typically like it's when you have like too many, like that gets flagged a lot when you use like Axe or Wave.
Yeah.
Don't want too much. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I hear about too, is it's like pasta, like the perfect amount of ARIA, right?
Yeah.
Perfect amount of pasta. Because HTML does help a lot, like default stuff. So, awesome. Do we have any other questions or any other? Oh, thank you for this question, everybody. What inspires you? And I'm gonna make both of you answer this.
Oh, sure. Excited.
All right, Irene, you go first.
Oh man, I feel like that's a tough question. I mean, in terms of like accessibility and being a developer, I think it's definitely just being able to make sure that everything that I'm working on can be reached by everybody. Like, it was a very humbling experience to use your screen reader and use your keyboard. And the more I learn about different disabilities and what that means for people on the web and how they can consume content, and somebody that doesn't have a lot of those disabilities, that affects me when I'm reading stuff on the internet. You know, like making sure that I'm able to put myself in those shoes and, you know, give the best solutions that I can. I think that's kind of what inspires me today.
Okay.
Thought that the answer would come while Irene was answering, but I'm just going to wing it. Honestly, what inspires me is seeing the capability of something. If you make a site more accessible, then all of a sudden someone gets to be able to do something that they weren't able to do before. I love in the Doctor Strange movies where he goes like this and then a portal opens.
Yeah.
I find that when I get to be the wizard who does this and then a portal opens, then it really like changes somebody's world. So just thoughts that I don't know if that answers the question, but that's my answer.
No, you want to be the portal wizard. I get it. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Thank you. We should be portal wizards. Yeah.
That is the promise, right? Oh, we got a question from Steve here. Wonder who that is.
Steve.
I know, Steve. Everyone's excited to see you. Okay, question is: as you mentioned, ally work is never done. Got any ideas on how to keep up the momentum and excitement over time? Steve, former, coworker.
Yeah, I think it's always tough, I think, to keep momentum and excitement for something. I think where we work, we're kind of lucky because we have this like accessibility task force, and so we meet every other week, and so we have a bunch of people that love accessibility and are excited to, talk about it and be involved. But I also think a great way to stay excited is like every little fix that you make is really, making a big difference for somebody else. And I feel like that excites me, but I don't know if that's, helpful for everybody.
And on the freelancer side, one thing that keeps me excited is being able to read an article or a book and then be able to see that in motion and actually happen on a site or on a project that I'm working on. So yeah, just being able to conjure that in the real world makes me excited. So it's like, hey, I'm going to go idea shopping in these different articles to see what I can apply to projects that I'm working on.
The ever faithful creative drive.
Yeah.
And then we have another question from YouTube. So thanks for the link to the web accessibility checklist. Do you keep them all changed? Do you keep them all changed for all websites or part them for components? I believe the checklist, right? Checked.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So keep them all checked for web pages. So like, web pages versus components and how you break up that checklist structure, I believe.
Okay. I'm glad you believe.
Well, they're in the chat, so but let me know, Rajab, if that is what you meant, and feel free to just type in the chat if you have a clarification. So let me rephrase. So when you're using the web accessibility checklist, do you do them per page, per component? I believe, yeah, that is. What's your strategy for applying that checklist?
Yeah, I think for this project, typically we've been doing it per page, but I think kind of from doing this process and learning more, it's probably a little bit more comprehensible if you do it like per component.
Yeah. Especially for the global stuff.
Yeah.
But also, shouldn't you check the page when it's completed together? That's what I always get hung up on too.
Yeah.
The final checklist of when the page.
Yeah.
The ever question in tech
So
component
the answer
or page.
is yes.
Right?
Yeah, the answer is yes, all of it.
Yeah, always.
Every time.
Yeah. Oh, what disappoints you about the lack of accessible websites or sites?
I think for our particular project, what disappointed me the most was how many keyboard tracks we had. Like, you couldn't get to some of the accordion components we had were like in the middle of the page. So there's all that content that you can't get past that, or they could never get to our actual footer. We also had a lot of issues in our like main navigation. And so like you can't even change the page. So
yeah, I think that what disappoints me is that it really all of a sudden takes you away from, oh, let me check this out, to immediately like, I hate this so much, make it stop, let me just go somewhere else. It's a really swift change, I find. I I work to find humor in everything. So if the page is very roast worthy, then that's a bad time.
That is, and I think just to add some color to that too, of like, when we think about people with disabilities, right? And like, this is something that they have to do every day just to use the web.
Right.
I have friends who like, they're screen readers and they're way better than I could ever be. And they still are like, things are vastly inaccessible. So
Right.
my frustrations are, sort of like, I'm really good at finding elevators in the city. The weird freight elevator in the back, right? So
That's
accessibility.
a gift. Nice.
Well, with the wheelchairs, it's like stairs won't work. So you
Yeah.
gotta sort of adapt, but it's frustrating, right? And
Yeah.
that's the biggest disappointment, I would say. Not that I had to throw in my answers there.
Yeah.
And then, okay, next question. Do you have any advice for convincing your boss on focusing on company accessibility over billable allocations? Oof.
To be honest, no. We did not win that battle. We were definitely not a real project. Everyone's like donating their extra time, if you will. We do this in addition to our billable allocations. I think it's hard depending on where you work, how important accessibility is to your company. Do you have, that buy-in to accessibility? Does your leadership or whoever would be making that decision think accessibility is important? And I really don't have a lot of advice because that's truly a never-ending battle that we are battling.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have much else to add to that, but yeah, I wish you luck on that journey.
Did working on the company website improve skills for clients?
I would say so. I think there's a lot of things that I didn't know about accessibility before I started the audit and working on these projects. Now I know how to, make sure that the screen reader is reading everything properly, how to make sure that there's no like keyboard traps on your site, that like when you have a carousel or a video, there should be like pause or play buttons. I think there's a lot of just like small knowledge we learned, just how to make things more accessible. And I think that can be, used anywhere. So for clients.
Yeah, that continuous development.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that it really helped me just even be sensitive and aware in when talking to the designers on different projects, be like, hey, I noticed this. Are you open to changing that? Just to even try to mitigate some of the issues and frustrations that could come up down the line.
Yeah, as a designer, sorry.
It's okay. It's all good. That's why we work together.
Mostly our fault, probably. Okay. I think is that all the questions we have? I think, yes, we are good to wrap. So thank you so much for your talk today. You can find them all online, and I'm going to close out with some few slides. Is there any last words you'd like to say before we go?
Just keep swimming. Dory's words of wisdom.
Love it. Great. Thank you so much for being here today. And I have a few more slides. And first, just that we wanted to remind everybody that we are always looking for speakers and new voices in the accessibility community. And a reminder for those with the IAAP certifications, Ally Talk speakers and attendees receive professional development credits through IAAP for continuing education, so this counts. And we also make a conscious effort to include marginalized groups in tech in our speaker lineup. So please feel free to reach out if you're looking to talk, and let us know if you have any ideas on how to make Ally Talks more friendly. You can follow and subscribe online. Never miss a talk. We have all these social networks, YouTube, Twitter /X Mastodon as well. Links are going to be posted in the chat. And I want to close out by saying thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.